The morning sun cast long shadows across the courtyard of Kensington Palace, as Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood at her bedroom window for what would be one of the last times. She watched as moving trucks carefully navigated the narrow palace gates, their contents representing 13 years of memories, laughter, and royal duties. Today marked the beginning of a new chapter for her family, one that would bring them closer to the heart of the monarchy, while allowing them to create a more private sanctuary for their 3 children. Prince William emerged from his study, carrying a leather briefcase filled with important documents that would need to be transferred to his new office at Adelaide Cottage. The cottage, nestled within the grounds of Windsor Castle, had been chosen after months of careful consideration. Unlike many royal residences, this 4-bedroom Victorian home offered something precious to the young family: normalcy. There would be no live-in staff, no formal protocol dictating every moment of their day, and most importantly, their children could walk to school like any other family in the area. The decision to leave Kensington Palace had not been made lightly. Catherine remembered the countless discussions she and William had shared over late-night cups of tea, weighing the benefits of staying in London against the appeal of Windsor's countryside setting. The palace had been their first proper home as a married couple, where they had brought each of their newborn children, and where they had learned to navigate the complex balance between public duty and private life. George, their eldest at 9 years old, had initially been resistant to the move. He had grown comfortable with his routine at Thomas's Battersea, where he had made close friends and excelled in his studies. The prospect of starting fresh at Lambrook School, while exciting, also brought uncertainty. Catherine had spent considerable time with him, explaining how the new school would offer opportunities he had never experienced before, including access to extensive sports facilities and outdoor programs that would nurture his love for cricket and football. Princess Charlotte, 7 years old and naturally adaptable, had approached the move with characteristic enthusiasm. She had already begun planning how she would decorate her new bedroom and had expressed excitement about the school's emphasis on arts and drama programs. Her infectious optimism had helped ease some of the family's transition anxiety, and she had even volunteered to help 4-year-old Prince Louis understand why they were moving to a new home. Prince Louis, the youngest, viewed the entire process as a grand adventure. At his age, the concept of moving held little weight beyond the immediate excitement of exploring new spaces and meeting new people. His innocent questions about whether they would still be able to see their London friends had prompted Catherine to ensure that regular visits and playdates would continue, maintaining the important connections their children had formed. The logistics of moving a royal family proved more complex than any ordinary household relocation. Security teams had spent weeks conducting thorough assessments of Adelaide Cottage and its surrounding areas, installing discreet protection measures while maintaining the property's charming Victorian character. Every room had been evaluated, every entrance secured, and communication systems established to ensure the family's safety without compromising their desired sense of normalcy. William's morning had begun early with a final briefing from his protection officers about the new security protocols at Windsor. The arrangements were notably less intensive than those at Kensington Palace, reflecting the family's desire for a more relaxed living environment. The cottage's location within the secure Windsor Castle estate provided natural protection while allowing the children greater freedom to explore and play outdoors. Catherine had worked closely with interior designers to ensure their new home would feel immediately comfortable and familiar. Many of their personal belongings, from family photographs to the children's favorite toys, had been carefully packed and would be among the first items unpacked at Adelaide Cottage. She understood the importance of maintaining continuity during such a significant change, particularly for the children who needed to feel secure in their new environment. The royal couple had also considered the practical implications of their move on their official duties. Windsor's proximity to London meant they could easily travel to the capital for engagements while returning home each evening to their family. This arrangement represented a significant improvement in work-life balance, something both William and Catherine had prioritized as their children grew older and their schedules became increasingly demanding. As the final boxes were loaded into the moving vehicles, Catherine gathered her children in the palace's drawing room for a moment of reflection. She encouraged each of them to share their favorite memory of their time at Kensington Palace, creating a verbal time capsule of their years there. George spoke about learning to ride his bicycle in the palace gardens. Charlotte recalled her 5th birthday party in the same room where they now sat. And Louis, with characteristic 4-year-old logic, declared that his favorite memory was all the times we had breakfast together. The drive to Windsor took them through some of London's most historic areas, providing an opportunity for the family to discuss the heritage and significance of their new home's location. Windsor Castle had been a royal residence for over 900 years, and Adelaide Cottage itself had housed members of the royal family since the 19th century. For the children, this historical context transformed their move from a simple relocation to becoming part of a continuing royal legacy. Upon arriving at Adelaide Cottage, the family was greeted by a small team of staff who would help with the immediate settling-in process. Unlike their previous living arrangement, these staff members would not be residing on the property, allowing the family to maintain the privacy and independence they sought. The cottage's modest size, compared to Kensington Palace, meant that family members would be in closer proximity to each other, fostering the intimate family dynamic William and Catherine desired. The children's first exploration of their new home was filled with excitement and discovery. Each bedroom had been prepared with careful attention to their individual personalities and preferences. George's room featured his collection of model airplanes and books about history, while Charlotte's space had been designed with her love of dancing and art in mind. Louis's room incorporated his fascination with construction vehicles and contained plenty of space for his extensive collection of toy diggers and trucks. William spent his first afternoon at Adelaide Cottage walking the grounds with his protection team, familiarizing himself with the property's boundaries and discussing how the family could best utilize the outdoor spaces. The cottage boasted beautiful gardens that would provide ample room for the children to play safely, and William could envision summer evenings spent outdoors as a family, something that had been more challenging at their central London residence. Catherine focused her attention on the kitchen, understanding that this room would serve as the heart of their new home. Unlike the formal dining arrangements at Kensington Palace, Adelaide Cottage's kitchen was designed for family meals and casual entertaining. She could already imagine breakfast conversations around the kitchen table, homework sessions at the counter, and the comfortable chaos of family life unfolding in this welcoming space. The evening of their first day at Adelaide Cottage was marked by a simple family dinner, prepared in their new kitchen and eaten together without the formal protocols that had occasionally governed their meals at Kensington Palace. The conversation centered on each family member's first impressions of their new home and their excitement about the adventures that lay ahead. As bedtime approached, Catherine and William took turns reading to each of their children in their new bedrooms, helping them settle into spaces that would gradually become familiar and comforting. The sounds of the Windsor countryside, so different from London's urban soundtrack, provided a peaceful backdrop to their nighttime routine. Before retiring for the evening, William and Catherine stepped onto their cottage's small terrace, looking out over the grounds that would now frame their daily lives. The sense of space and privacy felt liberating after years of living under constant public scrutiny. Here, they could simply be a family, pursuing the balance between duty and personal happiness that had always been their goal. The first day at Adelaide Cottage had exceeded their expectations, confirming that their decision to embrace this new chapter had been the right choice for their family's future. 3 weeks into their new life at Adelaide Cottage, the Wales family had begun to establish routines that would have been impossible during their time at Kensington Palace. Catherine found herself waking each morning to the sound of birds in the ancient trees surrounding their home, a far cry from the traffic noise that had accompanied her London mornings. The simple pleasure of opening bedroom curtains to views of rolling countryside rather than urban architecture reinforced her conviction that this move would benefit not only her children, but the entire family's well-being. William had discovered that his commute to various royal engagements, while sometimes longer than from central London, provided valuable thinking time that helped him prepare for each day's responsibilities. The drive through the Berkshire countryside offered moments of tranquility that had become increasingly precious as his royal duties expanded. He had established a small office in one of Adelaide Cottage's spare rooms, creating a workspace that allowed him to review briefings and conduct video conferences while remaining close to his family. The children's transition to Lambrook School had progressed more smoothly than their parents had dared hope. George, despite his initial reluctance, had quickly formed friendships with classmates who shared his interests in history and sports. His new teacher had noted his enthusiasm for the school's outdoor education program, which included forest school sessions that allowed students to learn in natural environments. The freedom to explore and take calculated risks in outdoor settings was developing his confidence in ways that more traditional classroom instruction had not achieved. Charlotte had embraced every aspect of her new school experience with characteristic determination and joy. Her participation in the school choir had led to her being selected for a special performance at a local church, an opportunity that filled her with pride and excitement. The school's emphasis on nurturing individual talents while maintaining high academic standards aligned perfectly with Catherine's educational philosophy for her daughter. Prince Louis had settled into the school's reception class with remarkable ease, displaying the adaptability that often characterizes youngest children. His teacher regularly reported his kindness toward classmates and his eagerness to participate in every activity offered. The school's garden project had captured his imagination, and he proudly updated his parents each evening about the progress of the vegetables he was helping to grow. The family's newfound proximity to Queen Elizabeth had created unexpected opportunities for closer relationships across generations. Sunday lunches at Windsor Castle had become treasured occasions where the children could spend relaxed time with their great-grandmother, sharing stories about school and listening to her tales of royal history. These informal gatherings differed significantly from the more structured official events that had previously defined their interactions with the monarch. Catherine had begun participating in local community activities, something that had been challenging while living in central London. She had quietly joined a mothers' group that met weekly at a nearby village hall, where conversations centered on ordinary parenting challenges rather than royal protocols. The other mothers, while aware of her identity, treated her with warm friendliness rather than formal deference, creating the sense of normalcy she had long sought. The cottage itself had gradually transformed into a true family home through careful attention to small details that reflected their personalities and preferences. Catherine had hung family photographs throughout the rooms, creating visual reminders of cherished memories and important milestones. The children had been encouraged to personalize their bedrooms, resulting in spaces that truly belonged to them rather than looking like guest accommodations. William had established a workshop in the cottage's garden shed, pursuing his interest in woodworking during rare moments of leisure time. This hands-on hobby provided a welcome contrast to his usually cerebral royal duties and allowed him to create simple furniture pieces and toys for his children. The physical act of crafting objects with his hands offered a form of relaxation that he had not experienced since his military service days. The family's evening routines had evolved to take advantage of their new environment's possibilities. During pleasant weather, they often took walks through the Windsor Castle grounds after dinner, exploring areas that were closed to the public and discovering historical features that sparked educational conversations with their children. These walks provided exercise, family bonding time, and informal history lessons that brought their heritage to life in meaningful ways. Catherine had been particularly pleased to discover that Adelaide Cottage's kitchen garden could supply fresh herbs and vegetables for family meals. Teaching her children to tend the plants and harvest the produce connected them to the basic skills of food production while providing practical lessons in responsibility and patience. George had shown unexpected enthusiasm for gardening, finding satisfaction in the tangible results of his care and attention to the growing plants. The security arrangements at Windsor, while still comprehensive, felt less intrusive than those they had experienced in London. The children could play in their garden without constant awareness of protection officers, though their safety remained the paramount concern. This balance between security and freedom represented exactly what William and Catherine had hoped to achieve for their family's daily life. Local residents had responded to the Wales family's presence with respectful interest rather than intrusive curiosity. Shopkeepers in nearby villages greeted Catherine warmly when she occasionally stopped to purchase items for their household, and children at the local playground interacted naturally with George, Charlotte, and Louis during weekend visits. This integration into the community had exceeded the family's most optimistic expectations. The practical benefits of their new living situation had become increasingly apparent as autumn approached. The children could walk to school along safe footpaths, allowing them independence that would have been impossible in central London. Catherine often accompanied them part of the way, using these walks as opportunities for conversation about their daily experiences and any challenges they might be facing. William had begun inviting close friends and family members to Adelaide Cottage for casual dinners and weekend visits, something that had required extensive planning and protocol consideration at Kensington Palace. The cottage's informal atmosphere encouraged relaxed conversations and genuine connections that strengthened relationships with people who mattered most to their family's happiness and stability. The changing seasons at Windsor provided natural educational opportunities that city living had not offered. The children observed wildlife patterns, collected autumn leaves for art projects, and learned to identify trees and plants in their immediate environment. These experiences connected them to the natural world in ways that complemented their formal education while fostering appreciation for environmental conservation. Catherine had established partnerships with local organizations that aligned with her charitable interests, allowing her to maintain her commitment to important causes while being present for her children's daily activities. The geographical proximity to both London and various community groups enabled her to fulfill her royal responsibilities without sacrificing family time, a balance that had been more difficult to achieve previously. The success of their transition had exceeded even William and Catherine's most optimistic projections, confirming their belief that prioritizing family stability and children's well-being had been the correct decision. The cottage had truly become a sanctuary where they could recharge between public duties while raising their children in an environment that honored both their royal heritage and their desire for as normal a childhood as circumstances would permit. Evening conversations between William and Catherine had increasingly focused on future plans rather than daily logistics, indicating how well they had adapted to their new circumstances. Their children's happiness and adjustment had validated every aspect of their decision to embrace this significant change in their family's living arrangements. 6 months after settling into Adelaide Cottage, the Wales family had not only adapted to their new environment, but had fundamentally transformed their approach to balancing royal duty with family life. The cottage had evolved from a mere residence into a haven where authentic relationships flourished and where 3 young royals were developing into confident, grounded individuals who understood both their privileges and their responsibilities. Catherine's daily routine had found a rhythm that would have been impossible during their London years. She began each morning with a cup of coffee in the cottage garden, using these quiet moments to review her schedule and mentally prepare for the day ahead. The sight of her children's bicycles leaning against the garden shed and the sounds of early morning wildlife had become cherished elements of her personal time before the demands of royal duty required her attention. The transformation in George's confidence had been particularly remarkable. His initial reluctance about the move had given way to genuine enthusiasm for his new school and the opportunities it provided. He had been selected for the school's cricket team, where his natural athletic ability and competitive spirit found positive expression. More significantly, he had begun showing interest in the historical aspects of his family's heritage, asking thoughtful questions about royal traditions, and expressing curiosity about his future role within the monarchy. Charlotte had blossomed in ways that constantly surprised and delighted her parents. Her participation in the school's drama program had revealed natural theatrical talents that brought joy to her performances and confidence to her daily interactions. She had also shown remarkable empathy in helping new students adjust to school life, demonstrating the caring nature that would serve her well in future royal duties. Her teachers regularly commented on her ability to lead without dominating, a skill that impressed even experienced educators. Prince Louis had grown from an energetic 4-year-old into a thoughtful 5-year-old who had learned to balance his natural exuberance with developing social awareness. His friendships at school had taught him important lessons about sharing, cooperation, and kindness that complemented the values his parents worked to instill at home. His favorite school activity remained the garden project, where he had learned to nurture seedlings into flowering plants through patient daily care. The family's relationship with the broader Windsor community had deepened through consistent participation in local activities and genuine engagement with neighbors and community organizations. Catherine had become a regular volunteer at the village library's reading program, where her presence was valued for her enthusiasm rather than her royal status. These interactions provided her with insights into ordinary family challenges that informed her understanding of the issues facing modern British families. William had discovered that Windsor's proximity to various royal residences allowed him to fulfill his official duties while maintaining closer connections with extended family members. His relationship with his father, King Charles, had benefited from more frequent informal meetings where they could discuss both royal business and personal matters without the time constraints that had previously limited their conversations. The cottage itself had become a showcase of how royal residences could reflect personal taste while respecting historical significance. Catherine's careful attention to creating welcoming spaces had resulted in rooms that felt simultaneously elegant and comfortable, formal enough for small official receptions, yet relaxed enough for children's birthday parties and family movie nights. The children's bedrooms had evolved to reflect their growing personalities and interests. George's room had become a display of his expanding interests in military history, aviation, and cricket, with carefully arranged collections that showed his developing organizational skills. Charlotte's space reflected her artistic nature and love of literature, with a reading corner that had become her favorite retreat for quiet contemplation and creative projects. Louis's bedroom had transformed into a workshop of imagination, where construction projects, art supplies, and an impressive collection of books coexisted in organized chaos that made perfect sense to its young occupant. His natural curiosity about how things worked had led to numerous educational conversations with his father about engineering, architecture, and technology. The family's integration into local school communities had provided their children with friendships that transcended royal protocol and social expectations. Birthday party invitations were extended and accepted based on genuine relationships rather than diplomatic considerations. These friendships had taught the young royals important lessons about treating all people with respect and kindness, regardless of their social status or background. Seasonal celebrations at Adelaide Cottage had become treasured family traditions that combined royal customs with personal preferences and contemporary family values. Christmas preparations involved the children in selecting gifts for local charity drives, teaching them about gratitude and social responsibility while maintaining the magic and excitement appropriate to their ages. The success of their Windsor lifestyle had influenced William and Catherine's approach to their official royal duties, inspiring them to seek opportunities that would allow them to work as a family unit when appropriate. Joint engagements had become more frequent, and they had begun including their children in certain public appearances that provided educational experiences while demonstrating the royal family's commitment to normal family relationships. Catherine's charitable work had expanded to include organizations based in the Windsor area, allowing her to develop deeper relationships with the communities she served while reducing travel time that separated her from her children. Her patronages had begun reflecting the environmental and agricultural interests that her countryside lifestyle had fostered, creating authentic connections between her personal experiences and her public advocacy. The cottage's garden had become a laboratory for teaching the children about environmental stewardship, sustainable living practices, and the importance of connecting with the natural world. They had established a composting system, learned about native plant species, and created habitats that supported local wildlife populations. These practical lessons in environmental responsibility would inform their understanding of conservation issues throughout their lives. William's woodworking hobby had evolved into a shared family interest, with each child learning basic skills appropriate to their age and ability level. These projects provided opportunities for problem-solving, patience development, and the satisfaction of creating useful objects through careful work and attention to detail. The workshop had become a gathering place where meaningful conversations occurred while hands stayed busy with creative tasks. The family's evening walks through Windsor Castle grounds had become educational expeditions, where history came alive through stories, exploration, and discovery. The children had developed genuine appreciation for their heritage while understanding that their privileged access to these historical treasures carried responsibilities for preservation and education that would extend throughout their lives. Local residents had responded to the Wales family's presence with pride rather than intrusion, understanding that their new neighbors valued privacy and normalcy while remaining committed to their royal duties. This mutual respect had created a community environment where the children could develop naturally while learning to handle public attention with grace and confidence. The transformation of Adelaide Cottage from a historical residence into a family home had been achieved through careful attention to creating spaces that honored both royal tradition and contemporary family needs. Every room reflected the personalities and interests of its occupants, while maintaining the dignity appropriate to their status and heritage. As their first year at Adelaide Cottage approached, William and Catherine reflected on how completely their vision for family life had been realized through this move. Their children were thriving academically, socially, and emotionally in ways that validated every aspect of their decision to prioritize family stability and authentic relationships over convenience and tradition. The evening routine of family dinner, followed by homework assistance and bedtime stories, had become the foundation of their daily rhythm, providing structure and connection that strengthened relationships while teaching important values about family loyalty, academic achievement, and personal responsibility. Adelaide Cottage had truly become home in every sense of the word, a place where 3 future members of the royal family were learning to balance duty with happiness, tradition with innovation, and public service with private fulfillment. The success of their transition had exceeded their most optimistic expectations and established a foundation for their family's future that honored both their heritage and their individual dreams.